I came in for the evening and I thought I'll make a quick video. And what you just looked at on the book was Russian Mosin Nagant 9130. Probably most of you recognized it. And on the table here I have the Russian Mosin Nagant that you saw on the book. And I have a Mauser 98, which has appeared in other videos I've made. I have a Springfield, and completely unrelated, I have a Luger carbine. Really interesting firearm. Probably I'll make a video on it, maybe even this evening. Anyway, I'm mainly interested in talking about the Mosin Nagant. These are not uncommon, actually. They're very common. Something like over 30 million manufactured since 1891. Most of the world powers had the same problem. As you probably know, they had single-shot rifles, so everybody was looking for a repeater, and this was the solution that Russia selected in 1891, along with the 7.62 by 54R cartridge. Very simple design. It's a typical turn bolt, slightly different in some ways. So you can see that the rear receiver ring is split, the bridge is split here. That means that the bolt handle has to pass through the bridge. And the horizontal locking lugs on the Mauser, which I'll show you in a moment, in the Mosin Nagant are vertical. That's not an advantage or a disadvantage. That's just how the action works. So we'll push the bolt forward, lock the bolt, and as you can see, the bolt handle is not exactly that close to the trigger because it can't sit at the back of the bolt as it can on the Mauser. And I actually just have the Mauser here so you can see where the locking lugs are. You can see them riding horizontally. I don't know if we can focus on that, but horizontal, and then they lock vertically. And as you can see, the bolt handle is quite close to the trigger on the Mauser. And since the Springfield is basically a copy of the Mauser, it's not surprising to find that the bolt lugs operate the same way. This is a very dark action, may not show up that well on the video, but there it is. And when locked, again, close proximity to the trigger. So the theory is that you can reach the bolt handle a little quicker when the gun is at the shoulder, and this is true. But it's it's not a massive difference. It's just one of those things. Floor plate pops open, sometimes easily, sometimes not so easy. It's easy. It's mainly my clumsy hands. Anyhow, so you can see the spring is there. You can use a stripper clip, which rides in these two recesses. Cartridges go in. Remarkably robust weapon, and Russia didn't change its weapons very often. This was, as I said, 1891. I think it's safe to say it's probably, to date, the Russian satellite countries were issued these rifles. They made them in rifle design as well as a carbine, and I've had a couple of those. This cartridge is not that, it's not a weak cartridge, so there is some recoil, especially in the carbines. But anyway, there are more than enough reference books and things like that you could look at on the length of the carbine barrels, and some people study these manufacturing codes and that kind of thing. They know exactly where this rifle was made and what year and so on. This one has that hex receiver. Some of them are round. I think it's a matter of personal preference. Anyhow, very interesting rifle. And what else did I want to say? I wanted to comment on the robustness of this rifle. It's very simple. Removing the bolt, you just pull the trigger, and the bolt comes out. It's that easy. And you do the reverse to get it back in. Mauser, you pull this to the back. There's a hinge here. That's easy too. But you can see this is a far more complex configuration. The whole design, even the milling, is more, I was going to say difficult. It can all be done, but it's this is the simpler weapon, and I think it's quite simple to reassemble as well, just like that. So not too much to go wrong there. And I think we can pan down to the cartridges now. And the one on the right is the 7.62 by 54R. The center one is the 308 or 7.62 NATO. And then for comparison, I put a 30-06. The ballistics of the Russian round, I think, are slightly superior, might have a slightly higher muzzle velocity than standard factory loaded 308 Winchester or 7.62 NATO. But I'm not positive, and of course hand loading changes all that. But it's a powerful round, and considering that they adopted that round in 1891, and we adopted the NATO in 1950 something, they got the cartridge design correct very early. Anyway, other than that, it's kind of neat having something made in Russia. If you look around for a consumer product from Russia or the Soviet Union, it's not exactly easy. I think this is the only thing in our household that's made in Russia. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but anyway, the gun is probably as indestructible as a bolt-action rifle can be, and if you read Russian history, as I have, you'll probably agree that the Russian people are indestructible. It's just an amazing people. So yeah, not too much detail, but at least it's something to look at. Probably a good idea to pick one up and examine it, maybe shoot it a few times. Ammunition is common, not hard to find. And you know, when you own the guns from that era, I have a Krag, I have the Springfield, I have the Mauser. You kind of end up looking back and forth and seeing how they overcame problems with pressure and with repeating and cartridges and feeding and so forth, and it's interesting. So I think that's probably really all I can observe this evening. Yeah, that's about it. So, spasiba.